What's good, YouTube? Quinn Wade basketball analysis coming to y'all with a quick video about the Houston Rockets. This is a team that's only getting better and better. For what I was told, they picked up Joe Johnson after he was waived by the Kings. Another person that they targeted, which I thought they wouldn't be able to get because they picked up Joe Johnson, but for what I was just told that they're supposed to be picking up Brandan Wright. Okay, this is a guy that's been traded around the league. He's a coveted center. That's why he's still in the NBA because he's an athletic center, athletic center that can score around the basket, whether it's layups or just dunks and lobs and alley oops. It kind of reminds you of Clint Capella. Obviously, Clint Capella is better. He has a better motor. He's more longer naturally. He's a good rebounder, and he has better chemistry with Harden and Chris Paul and the rest of the team because he's been playing with Harden for years, and he already had a training camp and a lot of games to play with Chris Paul. So he has advantages over Brandan Wright. And obviously, when you make this pickup, you're not making this pickup to replace Clint Capella. You're doing this for a run at the championship, and I think this is the right move. You get a guard in Joe Johnson that adds another playmaker, adds another ball handler, adds another scorer, and that adds depth to the position where you already got Eric Gordon, James Harden, Chris Paul, and you still got players like Gerald Green and other players like that that can come in and give you a contribution off that bench, whether somebody injured or hurt. The Rockets are literally covered all across their roster. They got so many guards. They have the forwards that can shoot and Ryan Anderson and Trevor Ariza. You have the defensive aces and Luke Mute, and obviously Ariza, and you still got Tucker and obviously Chris Paul. And this team is well rounded. One of their biggest problems was just staying healthy. James Harden went down, Chris Paul went down, and other than that, they're only a half game behind Golden State for the #1 record, not in the West, the entire NBA. Going back to the beginning of the season, they already was the #1 team in the NBA for months. For I think about 1 to 2, maybe 3 months, through 2.5 months, they was the #1 team in the entire NBA, and now they have another chance to get that throne back. Obviously, if they get that throne back, you definitely got to give James Harden MVP. He's leading the whole league in total points scored. He's leading the league in just scoring in general with 31 points a game. Nobody even close to dethroning him from the scoring title this year. And a lot of people, after he did the 60-point triple-double, a lot of people said he's their front runner for MVP, something that he's been in the race for the last couple of years, but kept coming up second. It looks like this year, if he can continue to play this well and his team can continue to win and give Golden State a run for their money for that #1 spot, and the entire NBA is going to be hard not to give the MVP to James Harden. But the reason why I bring all that up is because this is a well-rounded roster with the ball handlers, with playmakers, with shooters, with defensive players, and they match up good against the Warriors. Matter of fact, even last year they beat the Warriors twice. This year they already beat the Warriors. And Chris Paul, you already know he takes a lot of pressure off James Harden because he can handle the ball, he can score, he can create his own shot, he can make the game easier with or without James Harden on the floor for everybody around him, including a player like Brandan Wright who likes to set good screens and roll right to the basket or help players get open like James Harden or anybody that needs to go through a screen and create some offense that's moving and not stagnant. You always want somebody moving. You always want people doing things to take attention off Chris Paul and James Harden. And he's the guy that's going to come in there, play his role, not try to do too much, not try to be out Clint Capella, picking him up for basically nothing because they didn't really pay at really nothing at all for Brandan Wright to come to Houston. I don't even think they paid him $3 million to come because he already got paid from the Grizzlies and they bought him out. So they just paying the rest of it for his contract. And this is a quality pickup. I'm not going to make it seem like this is a game-changing, world-changing pickup, but he's faster than Tyreek Black. He's longer wingspan-wise. He's quicker. Tyreek Black is more of a physical center. Clint Capella is the perfect center for a player like James Harden that's surrounded with shooters, same with Chris Paul. Or if you make one mistake, you give them a jumper. If you make another mistake, they can always pass it out to the shooters. And if you make another mistake, they can always lob it into Clint Capella. And that's what Brandan Wright will have to do. Set screens and roll right to the basket. And if you get the basket early, pass it out to Ariza, pass it out to Gordon, pass it out to Harden, pass it out to Chris Paul, and pass it out to Trevor Ariza, pass it out to Gerald Green. I had to go over exaggerated because that's what's going to happen. Is either Brandan Wright going to catch the ball and get a layup, lob, or a dunk, or he's going to catch the ball in the pick and roll. They're going to throw it up to him. He's going to catch it. He can either turn left, turn right, and just make the right pass because that's going to collapse the defense because you don't want James Harden to get a mid-range jumper. You definitely don't want Chris Paul getting any look at the basket because he is one of the lethal mid-range scorers in the league. And that's one thing I'm glad about the Rockets too, is that Chris Paul in the beginning of the season, he was settling for a lot of threes and a lot of contested threes. Now he's getting back to his game, which is handling the ball, making the right pass, not turning the ball over, and just destroying you with mid-range jumpers. And I think that's something that they needed was more of that inside scoring outside of Capella because you know, threes is like I always say, threes is the hardest shot in the game. And James Harden shooting 38% from three. If you can get a layup or a dunk or even a lob, 2 lobs is easier than shooting 2 threes. And that's why 1 out of 3 threes is 40%. That means you missed 2 shots. 2 lobs and 2 dunks and 2 mid-range jumper, that's 4 points. So you make 1 to get 3 points, or you make 2 because it's a higher percentage shot, and that's 4 points. People always say, well, 3s are better than 2s. They 3 points. But the 2s are so easy that you have a higher percentage of knocking down layups, dunks. That's why you see James Harden getting to the rim. That's why you see Chris Paul doing it now, getting in that 15-foot range or lower, getting lobs, getting layups, getting floaters, and getting to the free throw line. Because you don't want to live by the 3, especially in the playoffs when it's harder and teams can scout and prepare for you. You don't want to just be predictable. And that's something that the Rockets was. Get the ball to James Harden. Let him dance. Let him move. Let him take a tough shot. Let him take a contested shot. Or let them kick the ball to Capella or shoot it to a 3. It's more predictable when teams can game plan and lock in and make adjustments. And this is good that they're starting to mix it up and starting to see how important it is that you have a replacement for Clint Capella, because Capella done had some injuries in the past too. So having a guy like Brandan Wright that's not as good as a rebounder, but still as good as a finisher, because he led the NBA almost in field goal percentage before, and you have 2 stars that take pressure off of him. We all know that Capella is rolling to the rim. We all know Capella is staying by the rim, but for some reason, he always get dunks and alley-oops for a reason. It's because the attention is took off of him, and you don't want to give up easy shots to James Harden and Chris Paul. So this is a perfect fit because Brandan Wright, worst case scenario, he's a poor man Capella. Not as good as a shot blocker, not as good as a rebounder, but he has the size, the length, and the quickness to be able to fill in that position, whether Clint Capella go to the bench or he needs a couple games off. You have an insurance policy that allows you to play the same way offensively, even when Capella's on a bench or if he's injured. So this might not be a long-term move, but this is something that they needed to do because what else you needed a guard to a certain extent because they really didn't, because they picked up Gerald Green already. But why not add another piece to an already deep team? Like this team can go 1 through 9 through 10 now off that bench. So why not add more pieces? You got Tyree Black, you got Eric Gordon, you got Gerald Green, you got PJ Tucker, and now you got obviously Brandan Wright. So you going 10, 12 deep on this roster. Everybody can play, everybody contribute, everybody can shoot, everybody know their role. And Brandan Wright is a guy that's going to come in and do the same thing that Capella can do to a lesser extent. So I think it's a perfect fit. And like I said, Chris Paul made Tyson Chandler an all-star because all he had to do was rebound, protect the rim, and catch a lob in the dunk every once in a while and knock down a free throw every blue moon. And it was so hard to guard. That's why he was able to lead that team to the playoffs. And they let Dwight Howard go because Clint Capella is a cheaper player. Not only is he cheaper, he fits better with James Harden because he doesn't need the ball to create a shot. All he has to do is set a screen and roll to the basket or stay around the basket. And that's something that Dwight Howard, he wanted to post up. He wanted to get touches. He wanted to be a part of the offense. And now you got two guys in Capella and Brandan Wright that are just going to do the simple play their role, do what they're supposed to do. And that's the perfect thing you need in a James Harden and Mike D'Antoni system. Somebody that can roll to the basket, knock down a floater every blue moon, and catch a dunk in the lob and set some good screens for the whole team. And if not, just set a screen for Chris Paul and James Harden so they can go do work. Whether if you go under the screens, they're going to shoot the three, they're going to drive to the basket, get to the free throw line, or get to all the way to the basket, or they're going to do a stop and pop mid-range jumper. Because you got to give the space. If you don't give the space, you're going to have Brandan Wright or Clint Capella rolling to the basket for easy two in either way. I'm glad that they're starting to balance out their offense and stop just shooting a bunch of threes every down second. Now they balance it out to get the layups in the dunks while still getting some mid-range buckets, while still shooting a high volume of threes. But now they're starting to value that 15 and under range, and I like that. Even though they've been doing it a lot more this year, I like that they diversified their offense besides just shooting a bunch of threes all damn game and living and dying by it. They get easy buckets too. So let me know what you guys think about the Houston Rockets. Is this a good pickup? Does it really matter? It doesn't really matter. Or, it's another injury replacement. It's another guy that can come in off the bench and replace Capella to a certain extent. And it gives them more depth and another NBA player that they can rely on when it comes to the playoffs or when they got to make certain lineup adjustments or try different things out. It gives them another lone big body that you ain't really paying anything for. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Check out my website, analysisplayground.com. Link up in the description in the comment section below. Also check out my Facebook page, analysisplayground.com. Link up in the description in the comment section below. I'm Quinn Wade, Basketball Analysis. I'm gone. And let me know what you guys think about this pickup for the Rockets. And I already made the video for Joe Johnson, so if you're new, it might be what's next, but check that out also.